everyone to please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silent reflection. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Clerk, could you please take a roll call?
Mrs. Russell? Present. Mr. Peters?
Here.
Mr. Robinson? Mr. Hayes?
Present.
Mr. Pitts?
Here.
Mrs. Blazer? Here.
Here. Everyone had a chance to take a look at our minutes from our last meeting. Any discussion or corrections on the minutes? All right, all in favor of approving those minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, minutes carried. Communications and announcements, we do not have any. And we also do not have any public hearings this evening. Audience concerns, we do have a couple of audience concerns. We will start with Anna Jacobs. Would you like to speak to, sir?
Really hard to hear out there, so I guess to kind of speak up, I guess.
Please just state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes, please.
Okay, my name is Anna Jacobs, and I live at 38 Gager, London, 43140. And I'm here to talk about the new Woodlands apartment complex. It's not new, it's been refurbished, and on the southeast corner of Gager and Stump, there's a sign, a street sign that says there's no outlet. And when I moved to the neighborhood in 2016, it took me a while to refurbish the house and everything. And I noticed there's a lot of kids in the neighborhood. And I walked the area, I walked the trails. And that apartment complex was empty for, up until this year where they were kind of doing work and not doing work and, but there was a chain across that outlet that dumps into Stump Brook Lane. And I know that there's probably about 20 or 30 apartments there. I don't know how many, but I know that also people have multiple cars. And if they start moving or coming out onto that Stump Lane, they're going to use that Gager Drive to get to Flax, Westmore, Arlington. And so we can't, as a community, hold that kind of congestion because right now, in our little community, people have 4 or 5 cars, and people are parking both sides of the streets, and kids are shooting out. And so we in that area know that we can't speed and are kind of concerned. But if you start dumping apartment complex people out with the transition all the time, and I'm assuming that it was at one time brought up to council that it was closed off because there is a street sign that says there is no outlet. So I'm concerned that, that is open now. When they paved that lot, they paved it right out to Stump. And now the workers are coming in through that area. And there is 2 driveways in that parking lot that lead to West High Street. So it's not a concern of safety without having 2 outlets onto a main street. So that's my one concern. The other concern is the chickens. I went to the public safety meeting. I talked to Jennifer. I went to my neighbors. The only thing, I talked to people about it. I did get some petitions printed off, and my son banned me from going to Walmart right now during COVID, so I can't get more. But I've been to the households. And I am concerned that we are going to, as a community, we are so rural that we're going to have, coyotes in our neighborhood. My neighborhood especially backs up to cornfields. The Ohio Peace Officer Training Center that's, nothing but cornfields, and the bike trail that is nothing but cornfields. And so in our community, I'm a little concerned about what that's going to entail when we start having our domesticated animals gone because we have this wildlife that no longer can be controlled. We don't have a humane society here that we can call and say, hey, come get this dog or come get this cat. When we call Madison County, they only pick up dogs and we can't control. So you guys are going to have to figure out that eventually, if you allow this ordinance through, you're going to have to get a dog or humane society to handle the influx because chickens quit laying after 4 years. People here, I'm sure, don't want to kill chickens. Kids say, oh my God, that's my pet, Mom, you can't kill that. I mean, when I went to Puerto Rico as a kid, my grandfather would say, don't get close to them chickens because it might be your dinner tonight. So you have to understand, as a community, what our logistics are. I'm not against them, I've had them. I just think that overall it needs to be considered very carefully and at the minimum, let the people vote. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I know we have had several discussions on chickens so far. As a matter of fact, we had this legislation proposed before, and it didn't make it out of the committee. However, this time it's come before us, so we're definitely considering it seriously. And we thank you for coming to the public safety meeting and then also bring your concerns to council. So, thank you. Anyone have anything to discuss about the Stump Lane, the apartments or chicken?
The Stump Lane thing, what it is, I can see where, there is no outlet sign. I'm not sure what they had to keep it from coming out. Was it just a chain?
Yeah.
That used to be there?
That used to be the entrance to those apartments from Stump Lane.
When?
Until they shut down the welfare building in front of it.
Right,
Okay,
because when the welfare department was there, that was the only entrance to those apartments. They're off of Stump Lane. The reason why it says no outlet is because, I mean, technically, where the old welfare stuff, I mean, that's private property. So that's why, that's like the entrance to those
But
apartments.
but after the welfare department.
Then I don't know if those are two different property owners, or is that one property
No,
owner?
it's one property, and when the gentleman bought it, there used to be the big house in the vacant lot. They tore that house down. And so the entrance is, you go by the welfare office, then you can go around to your right and come right back out on High Street. That's the way the apartment complex, when it was built, was set up together. And then they blocked off that, because you could go in off West High Street, and then you could go around the apartments and to your left and go that little Stump Lane, is that what it's called? And go out that way. But then they put a barrier up there. I think it was just a chain. I'm not sure what the
It was
barrier
just a chain.
and they put the no outlets on it.
Okay.
But since then, and that's been, well, since the beginning of the apartment complex, but since then, the new owner evidently has, that barrier has been taken down. And even the no outlet sign is there. And I can see where people would use it to, it might be easier to get out on the High Street off of Dagger than it is, because if you do have that curve coming right there around West High Street, it might be a little bit dangerous and high. So I think it's a good idea to block it back off again, but permanently block it off. Or something a little bit more structured than a chain.
And I don't know, with the D, you might say that that's an entrance or exit.
Well, the city had put up a sign.
Right, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
The no outlet sign doesn't necessarily mean you can't drive back there. No outlet just means there's no
But
public
you can't get out,
access.
but you can't
Right,
get
there's
out.
no public
Oh, you
access.
can, there's no way to get out of it.
I drove back in there this week, and you can get out along the apartments that goes out on the High Street.
But it's awful close, right? where these
It's-
apartments.
Yeah, it's narrow. I mean, it is paved, and it does go out on High Street.
That used to be their drive-through, because they had a little, I guess that used to be a bank at one time. There was a little separate house, little teeny house, about the size of a double outhouse that sat out there, and that's where, like, you went through the drive-through to pick up your food stamps and stuff, come back out. Was how it used to be before the welfare department moved over onto,
38.
huh?
38.
Yeah, we're on 38. So, but that one drop, I think we need to find out whether that, who owns those, driveways.
Well, the people,
Because-
there's some houses on Stump right there, what, maybe about about 4 houses there on Stump, and there's on both sides there.
Yeah.
And you used to, when you drove back in there, you just knew you couldn't get out, you knew you had to turn back around. So therefore, most people, they weren't probably visiting, living there, they just didn't go back, very limited traffic.
What are you suggesting that it needs to be blocked off so people don't come out that way and possibly run over someone?
Right.
The apartment complex.
Yeah, from the apartment complex.
Yeah, so you want it blocked off to prevent that
Right,
traffic?
to prevent them coming down into there, and, even if you have an incident, public safety incident where someone comes trying to scream through Digger at curbs to get out to Flags in Arlington and Westmore, and so you're gonna have multiple outlets, in a dangerous situation. So it's not only the fact that we have kids that just don't, hey, they play baseball in front of my car. And I tell them, don't hit my car, please. But, it's just that kind of neighborhood where they're constantly not looking. And so those of us that live there just know, hey, we got to slow down. So, and they park on both sides of the street. And then when you get through, when you try to get through, we're snaking through, because then it only becomes one car can get through because we park on both sides of the street. So.
I think there was only one exit from the apartments over there. There's one out to High Street. Is there another?
Yeah, there's two outlets.
Two out on the high street.
Well, if you're going in that one right by the building, 2 cars can't pass, definitely can't pass.
Yeah.
It would have to be an in and out.
Yeah, it'd have to be one way this way,
Yeah.
then one way out the other, like a horseshoe.
So if it was blocked off, they could traffic and stuff.
I think that it was blocked off, and that's.
Yeah, it's been blocked off.
Yeah.
That wasn't a very nice area.
Who blocked it
Either-
all? Does anybody know why it was blocked?
Probably the city, maybe, I don't know.
The city would put the chains up?
Well, they would put the no outlet sign up for.
Right, and then an outlet.
So, I think it was, I don't know, was it a chain?
It was changed up until they
Was
paid.
it a chain that signed? I don't know.
Well,
So you think the apartment complex took it down?
Yeah, they did. Because they plowed it. There was 2 posts that held the chain to plow.
Did the chain run across Stump Lane?
Yeah. No, it was inside the property line.
Right.
Because there's actually no access. There's like patio access on Stump, actually, but the front doors, they face that parking lot. And so that chain was before the first house, the first 2 houses on either side of the Stump.
Yeah.
The chain was a little offset in the back, but, I just am concerned for the safety of the neighborhood.
So you're just not wanting the apartment people to drive on Stump Lane?
Right.
Right, okay.
That, if they leave that open, this is gonna cause a lot of problems.
For Stump Lane, gotcha.
Yeah.
How many people live on that street? About
Maybe
4 or 5?
About 4. I mean,
There's at least 305 houses, 3 houses on each
Is
side.
there 5?
There are 5 houses, yeah, I think like 2 on each, one
Yeah,
on each
5.
side.
There's 3 on this side as you're going out that, and then 2 on this side.
Yeah.
Well, if the city said that a no outlet sign had to be put up and the blockade, the apartment didn't have the right to take it down, is that?
It probably does. I imagine, probably when he was remodeling that, it probably just maybe might have gotten away and he just took it down. Because, like she said, the apartments, they kind of face, the patios face right up.
Or it could have been one of his workers, because like the
Yeah.
guy that owns that property lives in California. Well, his sorting or whatever you want to call it. The main guy that oversees it lives in California.
So who would she need to contact? Paul,
Maybe
that be a
Bill.
building and zoning?
The bill for streets or?
Or Bill? You have Bill?
Bill for streets, to see if we put the barrier up or if they put it up.
Right.
Bill, that's street
Yeah.
department.
He's in public service, that's right.
Yeah, public service.
I'll call Bill and have him, I'll have Bill
Maybe
on,
Bill look at it.
and I'll give him your number and have him get back.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Gerald. And what's your last name? Sorry.
Otis.
Okay, Oates.
Otis.
Otis, okay. Please state your name, address, and you have 5 minutes, please.
My name is Gerald Robert Otis. I'm from 106 Berkshire, London here.
Okay.
Just got some questions about this chicken. Who thought up these rules or regulations? Just curious how you guys come to all of this.
It's, me and Brian kind of looked at other cities'
Is
ordinances.
there stuff from other
We
cities?
we went from there that kind of made it to.
Just took it from other cities?
Right.
Can I ask you a question about the roosters? Why would we not allow no roosters?
Well, I personally would be okay with roosters, but most of the cities, well,
Most
all of them
of the
really
cities.
didn't allow them because of noise, I assume.
That's what I'm asking. I just want to know why. Could that be changed by any chance?
I mean, any of it could be amended.
Okay. And also, I guess I read that wrong. I thought it said you had to be able to view them from the backyard, or view them from the street. You don't want to view them from the street, right?
Right.
Real quick question is, what do you count as free-range chickens? I mean, I've got a 6-foot fence around my property. Would it be okay to let them run in loose in there, or they gotta be?
Well, the idea was to have them stay in the coop. I guess we'd have to
We're
define.
on.
Yeah, and then
You
we
gotta
have to,
let them outrun some.
well, we have
you
to
can't
define,
just-
I guess, what free range is.
Yeah, that's what I'm just curious. I mean, because I'm thinking about getting some chickens. I don't want to step on anybody's toes. I don't want to.
I guess that there was concerns about if it's a short fence, the chickens could jump the fence.
Right.
Yeah,
Get
I
into
mean,
neighbors'
I mean,
yards.
you don't want that happening anyway. You want to keep your chickens. I mean, you don't want to pin it up, but
So that's kind of the reason for the no free
I'm
range.
just kind of curious. And what's $50 for? Is that just a
Well, that's still up in there too. We just, that would be permit fee,
permit fee? Just
right? And that, if it's a one-time fee, we're talking about a larger amount. If it's an annual fee, then a lesser amount. If it's every 4 years, and all this can be amended still. It's not anything set in stone.
because I've got no problem with having somebody having chickens. I have no problem with anybody. I don't think we'd have any problem with neighbors saying no to chickens. I see your concern. You don't want somebody having 50 chickens trying to sell eggs out of somebody's corner lot.
I guess the concern with selling eggs is whether it's a health issue or not.
Yeah. I mean, you got young animals that cooks breakfast. I mean, it's just something you want to be careful of. I mean, manure and stuff. I mean,
Right.
and stuff. So, but I just had some concerns. I just wanted to find out what exactly was going on. I didn't know we weren't even allowed to have chickens. So I got this article and stuff. So I'm like most of the people around here. I just go on my lucky happy way. Don't worry about stuff. So. And I find out that I'm breaking the law.
Where do you
Where
live?
do you live at?
First time we got,
Right off East High Street? Is that Berkshire?
142,
Yeah.
I know how to get home,
Okay.
but yeah, I just kind of wondered if there was something going on. Is there going to be another meeting on this about this?
Yeah, well, we can have as many readings as we need to, but this is the second reading tonight, and then the third reading will be the first council meeting in December, which I think is the 5th. So we could actually vote on it on the 5th, but if things aren't settled as far as amending it the way we want it, then it could go on further.
Well, I appreciate your time. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, and also, if you would like to discuss it further, you can also attend a public safety
Yep.
meeting.
What is that?
It's the first, or second Tuesday of the month. Second Tuesday.
Where at? Here?
Yep.
Right here.
Okay, thank you, sir.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, right here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is that all we have today for the audience concerns? Okay. All right, on to our committee reports. Mrs. Russell.
I have, no, we canceled the meeting.
Okay.
So it's not, finance. It was short and sweet. As a matter of fact, it's so short and sweet. I guess we'll just have to move on to the next meeting, I surely forgot.
It was short and
It
sweet
was short and
because
sweet.
I got there
Then we
a
got
couple
there, we
minutes.
were adjourned.
It was less than a half hour and they were done.
Wow, short and sweet. Josh, do you have anything to add?
It was just really about what's on legislation tonight.
Oh, yeah, that's true, that's true.
Yeah.
It's on legislative action.
About moving some money. The police, no, auditor's office needed to move money from
Yeah, that's on
one place
legislative.
to another, and then there was a bill that there was money in there for it, except for, it was $45. Yeah, so that was the another issue.
That's legislation tonight, yes.
And we talked about, the auditor's, software being updated. PD needed to move some money from training to maintenance of vehicles, to update some reporting software that they have. They're working on a payment plan to pay back on the city schools. Police cars supposed to come this week. They have a $2,250 credit from Ford to use for tires and parts, can't be used for the vehicle. And that they're looking at possibly fixing the front window of the police station themselves, or, within the city instead of putting it out to anything else. That's all I have on.
That sounds right.
Okay, Mrs. Peters? No, Rick? Mr. Hayes?
Okay, had a public service meeting on November 10th. Had the police report already. Mr. Hibb will take care of what we talked about with the chickens, and Ms. Blazer will take care of the fire department. We received several applications for police officer, and we'll be initiating backgrounds once they are approved by Civil Service Commission. Several new forms were updated to enable direct submission of information from our app and website. SCI Integrated out of Grove City has been working on the installation of our recording access to the interview rooms and security camera recordings. We have been approved for work on the front of the building at 10 East High Street by the Historical Review Board, and are currently receiving estimates and analyzing our options. We received a new Ford Cruiser from Lebanon Ford, waiting availability of the upfitting company to install the equipment. They're behind, as Ford was behind on the cruisers, and they've sent out a large batch of cruisers all at once. Cruiser number 9 was decommissioned after the equipment was stripped by the upfitter. The enclosed cargo trailer for use in transporting equipment and supplies for various events was received. Annual firearms certification was completed by all members. Members also received training on less lethal pepperball weapons and shotgun rounds. They replaced a malfunctioning computer unit on the K9 Cruiser that regulates the heat alarm and remote door system. The system will be replaced with another make that the upfitter recommended at a cost of $2,500. Funds are available for this through the regular budget. Extra patrols for Halloween trick-or-treat were conducted with no issues. Notable incident on October 31st of 20, Saturday evening, Ohio State Patrol units pursued a vehicle from Interstate 70 into the city of London on US 42. The suspects fled from the vehicle abandoned behind the Kroger store in Lafayette. A push notification was sent from LPD app alerting residents of the suspects on the loose. Several residents called the office as they had observed the suspects in their neighborhoods. The suspects were subsequently located and arrested. This is the way it's supposed to work with the community. Very good job by all involved. Residents are encouraged to download the app. The more users, the more eyes we have to assist us. And that's my progress to the rest.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I attended the safety meeting also. We talked about the chicken ordinance. Go over some of the things we talked about. We talked about required permit yearly, lower cost versus a one-time permit fee at a higher cost. We talked about having an application be submitted with the permit that would stipulate coop sizes, just plans, I guess, for accommodating chickens. That would, building and zoning would look at application and permit, approve it or not approve it. We talked about whether to have an emergency clause or leaving it out. We talked about the number of chickens under half an acre versus 10 over half an acre, or allowing determining the number of chickens based on the coop or run size versus a lot size. We talked about possibly not regulating the coop or run size because of smaller lots in town. And then we also talked about abutting properties, whether they would need to, whether we should have them sign off permitting neighbors to have chickens versus no neighbor signature permissions. And then we also talked about allowing augmenting the soil with manure. We also talked about fines for non-compliance with standards set via our legislation versus legal charges. So we were kind of cut short on the meeting because there was another meeting after, so we didn't get to really solidify anything, but probably at the next safety meeting we would kind of try to solidify all these amendments and bring that back to council for final vote at that point.
Okay.
So that's it.
Thank you. Mrs. Blazer.
I also attended the safety meeting, and the fire department report is they've had EMS training on legal issues and documentation. Their new hire orientations are still ongoing. They had fire training with hose line movement, pump training, ladder placement. They completed the hydrant flushing and winterization. A list of the defective hydrants was sent to the water department for repairs. They provided coverage for the football playoff game. They completed their annual fire pump testing. All of them passed, including Ladder 360. Participated in the Rare Blood Motorcycle Club toy drive. Participated in Trick or Treat. Participated in Firefighter Blessing and Prayer with Gideon's International. They waxed all the vehicles. Hosted a station tour, as well as a Zoom station tour, and began organizing their toy drive festivities.
All right, thank you. Mr. Smith?
Main thing I just have is that the BPU meeting was moved from the 26th through the 24th. And then, and I also believe there was an emergency one scheduled at 5 o'clock. So they'll have 2 meetings on Thursday. So, and that's all I have.
Okay. And we do not have any city official reports. One to old business, ready for the second reading. Ordinance number 19520, motion to read by title or number.
So moved.
Second.
Second, clerk, please read the ordinance.
Ordinance 19520, sponsored by Brenda Russell, in order to make appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the city of London, state of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2021.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the amended budget for 2021. And as you'll see on the highlighted areas that were, the changes were made to, right there, the auditor's office, personal services and operations. And farther down, we go to, at that fund will change. Going down to, street construction, right there, personal services. And that was made there. That would be the last one. And you'll see that has emergency calls, we need to, right there, the grand, make it a grand total. And then, did everybody get a chance to compare it to the old? Yeah. I think one of them was just added here. So, we have an emergency clause on that. So I make a motion that we suspend the 3 reading rule.
Do you make a motion to accept this amended ordinance?
Oh, do we? We need to make a motion to set this amended one?
Yeah.
Right, because this is.
Okay, it is amended. Make a motion to accept the amended version to the 2021 budget submitted.
I'll second.
Clerk, please take the roll call.
Peters,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hitt,
Yes.
Blazer, Smith,
Yes.
Russell.
Yes.
We need a
Okay, now I make a motion to suspend the 3 reading rule.
Second.
Need a second. Clerk, please take the roll call to suspend.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hitt,
Yes.
Blazer,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
And a motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Hitt,
Yes.
Blazer,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. 1, 2, ordinance 19820, a motion to read by title or number.
So moved. Second.
Clerk, please read the ordinance.
Ordinance 19820, sponsored by Brian Robinson and Andrew Hitt, and ordinance amending 618 of the codified ordinances.
So this is ordinance related to allowing chickens in town. This is a second reading. We've had some people come in, voice opinions both ways, so appreciate the input from the citizens that have come in. We did discuss it in safety meeting, so we didn't really get a chance to kind of confirm what we wanted to amend, so we'll discuss it in the next safety meeting, and hopefully bring it back at the next council meeting. Amended it.
Okay. All right, any other discussion on 19820?
I think I would just add that we were talking about enforcement, and so then I had mentioned, fines or how to work that out. So I was talking to Jennifer about it, and so if someone has a complaint, they would call building and zoning. And so I know, we don't have Paul Oswald for a lot of time, but it's as simple as he drives out, verifies it, he sends them a letter. He can give them 30 days to comply. He goes back out, checks it out. If they don't, then he turns it over to Jennifer. So, so it's not a huge task on the building and zoning to be able to handle a neighbor's complaints. That's all I have for that.
Okay, anything further?
Yeah, it would really be nice if we could just give them a ticket. Just,
Well-
give them a fine and a ticket.
Right.
Like you get a speeding
Yeah.
ticket, you get it now. You'll be back here in 30 days. If you don't,
Yeah.
they'll give you a ticket and you got to fine them back.
Yeah.
I mean, that,
It's
that's not get their
interesting.
attention. Well, that,
Yeah,
that might get their
It's
attention.
interesting. I think the more I've researched that, I think there's reasons that I'm starting to see as good as why we don't do that. Because before I was like, why don't we just do that? Let him go over, hey, here's your $50 ticket or whatever, and go on. But I'm starting to see why it's actually really difficult to do that.
Oh, you got
Yeah,
to
it's like, your dog complaints, I mean, it just,
Mhm.
go over, here's your ticket, and you're done, But then there's a lot of stuff that can happen with that, so, yeah, I was definitely thinking that too, yeah.
But we do have to have some way to control it because it's the same, we have the same issue with lawn care.
Yeah,
Yeah, we have the same issue with lawn care, and it gets us nowhere. We've always seen down, the gentleman down there, I'm sure the zoning has told him time after time after
Yeah.
time. and we get no response,
Yeah.
get no response.
I think one thing we gotta do, and I'm not saying this for the chicken, not just period, I think we've gotta find ways to generate revenue to get, you know, I don't know if Paul wants to work more hours available to him or to hire another part-time person. I think that's something we just need to start thinking about, how to accomplish that. So, I don't know if chickens is the answer by any means, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that.
Well, but I mean, the issue,
It's
there's
something
other
right.
areas too, we have
Right.
dogs, we have
Right,
unload lawns,
for
we have
everything, right.
parked cars that aren't, you know,
That are-
they get warnings, move that car, or move that car, and cut that bush, you know,
Yeah.
and we give them warnings, and
Yeah.
we address it, but they don't address it.
Right.
We're just repeatedly, going around the bush.
And just things like the chicken law, I don't think it should cost the city taxpayers money for other people to have chickens. So the fees should be enough to cover what we anticipate would cost for the building and zoning to take care of it.
Right. Should be, if, you know, just like with dogs, you want to have to pay for someone that wants to have dogs, you don't want to have dogs. So.
Well, I can tell you, it costs the city a lot. And right now, we're having an issue with, which we almost got pulled into it with our dogs. Thankfully, our neighbors cleared it up, that it's not our dogs, but we're seeing it with our neighbors. I can't imagine how much it's cost the city and the police going out there. Jennifer's now involved in it. I mean, I can't even imagine what it is costing taxpayers.
But we are working on the dog ordinances, and they're very, very vague, and everything's a misdemeanor, and some things aren't even addressed. One thing, I was just looking, because we used to have a problem, the neighbor would do the work, put the dog outside. That dog would bark all day long, but the neighbor, I mean, they weren't working, the poor dog was out there, and I was looking through there, I said, well, and I couldn't find anything even in the ordinance, you know, about,
I don't even think there's anything in there about dog food, is there?
no.
There is not.
There is nothing, no.
Yeah,
There is
and I was
nothing.
like, we're talking about chicken coop, and I'm like, I don't even think there's anything about, you
Yeah.
know,
It's
And you
supposed
know,
to
you-
deal with the noise of the dogs.
If
Yeah.
you're in Upper Arlington and you're walking your dog and you don't have something,
Mhm.
oh, you get,
yeah.
Fine.
And there's a lot of things like, you know, what's considered good, living conditions outside, you know. You just can't set the water bowl out there with the dog will knock it over, and at 9 o'clock, and you're not coming back till
Yeah.
5 o'clock, and it's outside. I was like, well, they need to, you know.
In California, they have a law that they can only be outside for like 3 to 4 hours continuously.
There's not, so it's, there's a lot of missing elements there.
Right. Because I know right now in the city, we have an issue with barking dogs coming from both sides of a neighbor, and there's multiple dogs on both sides.
And I don't think there's a limit to dogs either.
No,
I think
there's
you
not.
can- I was looking in there, I just think you
Don't
can,
tell my wife.
well, she wants,
We ain't getting nothing.
yeah. I thought the neighbor's dogs, they're all together, so she's got 3 big ones and the little ones, the big ones, you can get them, but that little one that's squirting all over the place, you can't get all of him. But I've been looking into it, and actually I got an email from a lady, she was only directing it toward one area, and then when I hit that area, I was like, this is not even there, and just a whole lot of stuff, it's not. So if you wanna take a peek at it, feel free to take a peek. I think it might be a public safety issue that we would bring through there.
I got a little bit more clarification for the Sun Lane issue. The gentleman that owns the apartment buildings also owns the welfare building, so
Okay.
all of that is all of his. And that the chain hasn't been there for the better part of the summer. Not sure when it came down, but it's not been there all summer.
Right, and we wanted to find out who put the chain
Yeah.
up. You know, if it was the city or the property owner.
It was up, he just confirming that he didn't know who took the chain down.
Okay.
Joe, who is it?
It's a live auction. It's an auction.
Junior
Junior
child.
We just have some.
Department head, is there something going on we don't know
Yeah.
about here?
Yeah, maybe people watching, they may not know what's going on, but there's a live auction going on next door.
Yeah.
It sounds like QVC. All right, do we have anything further on 19820? All right, 1-2, resolution 220. Motion to read by title and number.
So moved.
Second.
Resolution 220, sponsored by Anthony Smith, a resolution to disapprove generation fee abolishment repeal for the NCO solid waste district.
Okay, so, you know, we were looking at this legislation, last council meeting, and I was confused by it, because I'm like, first off, why is an entity asking us if they can increase their rate? And then the districts if we vote, so we did some research. The gentleman I spoke to was saying that, you know, all this money was given to us. What we found, what I was provided, is that there was a loan given for about $300,000 that we have almost completely paid back. It does deal with the recycling, so we have a total of 6 in our district. I am going to recommend here in just a minute that we suspend and that we do disapprove. So I guess we would vote yes on this. Would that be correct? How legislation is written? Yeah, we would vote yes. It would be it would not pass per the BPU's request for us. But again, yeah, it depends on how the other people in our district vote. If they pass it, it's increased. It'll cost us about $5,000 a year to the entire sanitation department. So if it does pass, I don't think it's going to be detrimental to the department at all. But I don't see any reason for us to vote that it would go through. So, does anybody have any questions?
This is 300,000 just for that loan that we got?
That's what they said, yes. And so it was for the recycling program. The gentleman I spoke to portrayed that they gave us $600,000. Well, I can see is that it was $300,000 in a loan. But those funds, those types of funds are still available. So people in our districts still have money that they can apply for to get different loans and things like that. So, they didn't give me enough reason to vote to pass it. But like I said, the way he was talking, he thinks that the other districts are going to vote yes and it's going to pass it, and it's not going to matter how we vote. But, he's the one wanting us to vote yes. So
So they want us to vote yes to increase it?
Yes. No, the BPU board wants us to vote no.
No.
Well, we vote yes to vote
To
no.
disapprove it.
To disapprove. There you go. That's probably better way to word it.
Say that again?
You got to vote yes to disapprove it,
Okay, yes.
and that's us casting our vote as a city
Okay.
of the
Of a
district.
no.
Of a no.
BPU to say no.
Correct.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
So is everyone clear? So it was only 300,000. We didn't pay 300,000, and then they gave us a loan for 300,000.
The only thing I could see is where there was a loan given for $300,000. I think we have to pay it off next year,
Okay.
and that was it. That's all that we can see. Now, I don't know where he got his information from, his numbers from, and some of that stuff. I mean, you're talking. When was that last?
2007.
Yeah, 2007. So I mean, it was a long time ago. So.
Does anyone have any questions? We had Les here. I wasn't aware that he was
Yeah,
here
Les
to
is
be able
here.
to speak on that too. Does anyone have any questions for Les? He would be able to.
We do have to vote tonight. So we don't vote tonight, and then we have no vote cast if we don't vote tonight.
So everyone's clear? All right. And what are our wishes?
I'll make a motion to suspend this through reading rule.
Second.
Please take the roll call.
Blazer,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
All right. And a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Clerk, please take the roll call.
Smith,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Blazer. Yes.
All right, motion carries.
And I am check marking B, disapproves the generation fee voucher.
Right. Correct. B. All right, 1-2, new business, resolution 20220. Motion to read by title and number.
So moved.
Can we get a second?
Second.
All right, second.
Resolution 20220, sponsored by Brenda Russell, a resolution increasing appropriations.
Okay, this is a resolution that increased the appropriations to $45. It's, the fund is short to pay the individual payment, so we need to reappropriate $45. And I think it has an emergency clause on it, because the bill is due.
Anyone have any questions on this? $45 difference, so.
So I make a motion to suspend.
Okay.
Second.
And a second. All right. Clerk, please take the roll call.
Russell,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hitt,
Yes.
Blazer,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Okay, and a motion to adopt.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Clerk, please take the roll call.
Peters,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hitt,
Yes.
Blazer,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Russell.
Yes.
All right, 1-2, round table. I will start with Mr. Smith.
Just like to apologize for my attire, but I was able to thankfully be here tonight so we could get some work done, so. I did talk to, I guess I brought the committee, TJ, a little bit about the water, and so we're running as many tests as we can, and working with the EPA, so I mean, everything is being done. I think, I just want to reiterate, I think it was great with the, I know Henry got involved, the BPU board got involved, they got involved, and made all the calls to the EPA, because with all the COVID restrictions, we probably still right now would be waiting on the equipment if we would not have made the phone calls, pleaded and begged so we could get the equipment, so it's good. I mean, it looks like we're moving in the right direction. Everything's still just so new that we just can't say everything is working 100%, there's so many more tests on it. But I just want everybody to know that every test is being sent off to the EPA that we can possibly run right now to get results, to get information back, so that's it.
I also wanted to add that I was there this week, and the EPA was there, and they made a small adjustment on the system that should help it to continue to do even better.
Right.
It's, and it's really reassuring too to see how dedicated the EPA, how dedicated they are. They come from Cincinnati to come to help TJ, but he's dedicated as well to do all the tests when they need to be done. So that's one of the largest keys in the progress that's been made so far. So TJ's doing a great job out there. On to Carla later.
I just like to remind everybody, we see the numbers for COVID infections, COVID deaths rising. Franklin County went to purple today. We have seen a great increase in cases at the ER here. So we still need to be vigilant and be maybe a little bit more vigilant, especially with the holidays coming up, so that we're around to enjoy them for many more years. And as always, just be nice to each other. It's easier.
All right, Mr. Hitt.
And the next safety meeting is December 8th at 6 o'clock in this room here. And just want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving and enjoy your family time.
Thank you. Mr. Hayes.
I'd like to thank all the city, all the employees of the city for the jobs they do. The job is well done. And I'd like to reach out to everybody, it's Thanksgiving, be thankful for our country. Hug your loved ones. You don't know how long you're going to have them. Hold on to them, love them, and get along together, because we don't promise tomorrow. That's all I got.
All right, Mr. Peters.
No.
Mr. Russell.
I'd just like to do a nice shout out to the police department and fire department and street department. We had a flying garage in my neighborhood on Sunday. A window we just picked up. A neighbor across the street's garage, we got rolled it around like the Wizard of Oz, and it's out there floating in the air and landed on the other side of the street. And so the police were there very promptly, and it was a blessing that no car was going by, and it just landed upside down on this big pole, and it was just holding there, and you could just, it's wobbling, and you know, your fear was, here comes this. It really was the Wizard of Oz. But the police, they were there, and the fire department, Todd personally had to sit out there. He sat out there for 12 o'clock, 3:30, because there were live wires there. And I just want to say one thing, as the wires were live there, so many people that were walking had their headphones on. And the police literally, they were walking down the sidewalk, and I don't know what they were looking at, what they were hearing, but they had the headphones on, and they were walking and running, and had the police not been there, they would have walked right across. And I said, oh, they're gonna stop, because they'll see it, but no. So I want people, please, if you have your headphones on, please be vigilant, you know, watch where you're going. And the policemen, they were hollering, they had to get out of the car and go stop the person, because she had on headphones, and she would have walked right through them. So, you know, when you're running with headphones on, just look around and make sure that you may not audibly be listening, but be visually aware of what's going on around you. That was one thing I want to thank him for hanging out on East High Street for an afternoon.
All right. And I also want to give my shout out to council here. First of all, I'd like to start with Arlene there. She does a really good job. She takes her time. She makes sure we have the minutes and we have everything. Really appreciate the job that she does. And then Mrs. Russell, how dedicated you are to the finance department. I really appreciate that. Your essay to council, and Mr. Peters, your diligence and your expertise. You know, it is much appreciated. And Mr. Hayes, and your expertise with law enforcement, and your dedication. You're truly dedicated to your position there on the committee. We really appreciate that. And, Andy, you do a great job as well. With your counseling background, you're able to take a look at things critically and and just to, use your expertise and input. And Mrs. Blazer, of course, your expertise and your experience with finance, I think you're a perfect fit for that finance department. Mr. Smith, I'm telling you what, he's a researcher right here. He'll get down to the bottom of it if it's the last thing that he does. So I really appreciate your hard work, and I appreciate how we're able to work together to get things done. I appreciate everything you've been able to do so far this year. Enjoy your families and have a great Thanksgiving. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah, I thought we were going to have something exciting.